This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. How you feeling, Mr. Pianowski?
I'm doing good. I'm kind of regretfully. I was really enjoying that last segment. About your childhood. A lot of stuff I didn't know about you, and somebody asked about your first concert. I was really curious to hear what you said about that. I could talk about this. Could be, if you want to make this a music segment, we talk about music for the next 20 minutes. I mean, nothing would make me happier than that. And you couldn't remember the name of the place that you worked as a kid. I was like, did you work at Chess King or something? I was trying to think of what clothing store you might have worked at.
It wasn't Chess King. I do remember Chess King, but we had branches in Westland Mall, in Omni, and there was another one in North Miami Beach. I worked in two of the locations, Westland Mall, and then they moved me over to the Omni location for a short amount of time there. But I forgot the name of the place because I used to get a lot of my dress clothes there, and I was able to always
employee discount. That's a big thing when you're a kid. What was the first concert you went to?
The first?
Mm-hmm.
Boston Poco Doobie Brothers, and then Van Halen, Fair Warning tour.
That's great. Yeah, the Unchained, my favorite Van Halen song. My first concert wasn't that good, although it wasn't bad. I saw Starship open for Night Ranger, and now Jefferson Starship would have been great, or Jefferson Airplane. I saw Starship. They opened and closed with "We Built This City," which is like, you look at any list of the worst rock and roll songs of all time. And in fact, even Grace Slick has walked away from that song. She's like, "Yeah, we wish we didn't record that." But
yeah, I hate that song. Actually,
yeah, everybody does.
It's like Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire.
Terrible.
Every time I go to a Billy Joel concert, that's when I go get my T-shirt. When he plays "We Didn't Start the Fire." You watch my ass get right up and walk over to go get my T-shirt, because I don't make the line like everybody in a Billy Joel concert. A lot of times I'll go early and I'll make my line, I'll get my T-shirt. In a Billy Joel concert, I know he's going to play that shit song, because I love Billy Joel, but that one song I can't stand.
I've actually flipped on Billy Joel. I used to really like him, and then at one point I realized I didn't. I had a party. I saw a girl I didn't even know. I said, "Do you like Billy Joel?" She goes, "I love Billy Joel." I said, "Hang on one second." And I came back and gave her all my Billy Joel CDs. And the fact that they were CDs tells you how old this was. But I'm so jealous that you saw Van Halen. A friend of mine and I were talking
a shit ton of times.
Yeah, a friend of mine and I were talking about the greatest riffs of all time, and I think we came up with Unchained being the greatest riff. They have a live CD from Tokyo a few years ago, and David Lee Roth, his voice isn't anything what it used to be, but listen to just the first 35 seconds of Unchained before Roth even sings. Just Eddie is just wailing away. And the fact that I thought Eddie Van Halen was going to live forever, he obviously didn't. We lost him a couple of years ago. And that hit me and my friends really hard, because he was our guy. As much as I have great reverence for, Jeff Beck we just lost, and Jimi Hendrix, and the Rolling Stones are probably my favorite band of all time. But the guitar god that I grew up with was where I saw all his albums come out, and I looked forward to it. And when I was in 8th grade or 10th grade, every guy in school wishes he was Eddie Van Halen, and every girl in school wanted to meet Eddie Van Halen. He was just the ultimate cool guy when I was a teenager. So you never forget those formative years, and just, what a god he was.
From that first album, On Fire that's my favorite Van Halen song. And Eddie's guitar work in On Fire is just absolutely sick. That and Atomic Punk, actually.
So many great songs.
Two of the songs that are like underrated.
I love Diver Down, which is an album a lot of people don't talk about. Little Guitars is one of my favorite songs.
Hang 'em High, Little Guitars,
for sure.
Yeah. No, Diver Down is actually underrated.
I do. I think so too. Where do you come down on the Hagar stuff?
I at first I didn't like Van Hagar, because I was so pissed that they broke up.
For sure.
But Van Hagar grew on me, and I love it. And I ended up enjoying it, not more than the original, of course, because I will always love that bluesy sound more than anything else. Because David Lee Roth had a sound. He didn't have a voice. He had a sound. You know, that's what it is. He didn't have a great voice or anything, but he had a sound that went perfect with that music. You know what I mean? And he's not the first of guys like that they didn't really have a voice, but they developed a sound. You know, I thought Kevin DuBrow from Quiet Riot wasn't necessarily a great singer, but he had a sound that went with Quiet Riot, you know, overall. So, you know, to me, that's where I fell in love with that sound from Van Halen. Obviously, Halen's guitar is amazing. I think Michael Anthony doesn't
Grossly
get
underrated.
enough. Yeah. Maybe as a hard rock band, it might be the greatest harmonies I've ever seen from a band. Okay, I'm not
Unbelievable
talking
background
about.
vocals from Anthony.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Eagles or
Mhm.
Little River Band or
Crosby,
these.
Stills, and Nash. Yeah.
Yeah, Crosby, Stills. I'm not talking about the elite, the elite, stuff when it comes to singing. But as a hard rock metal band, Halen might have been the greatest background vocals I've ever seen. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I would love to meet Michael Anthony and just tell them thank you. Here's a guy who voted against his own interest to stay in the band, and was about as selfless as a rock star could be.
Yeah.
Because of the politics of what was going on in Van Halen and the unbelievable background harmonies, just seems like a really great guy. Running with the Devil, I think Neil Monk was the name of the guy. He also died a few years ago. He wrote a book. He was their manager and told some great stories. And I agree with you on how I unpack Van Halen. Van Halen with Roth is a legendary band, and David Lee Roth is a perfect frontman for that band.
The best
Van Hagar is a very good band. They're not Van Halen. Van Halen is like on an untouchable pantheon level, like an A plus band, and then the second version of the band is like an A minus or a B plus. Still a lot of good songs, but it's not Van Halen.
Yeah, King Short's coming in with Mean Street. Yeah, it's
so good.
That whole album, Fair Warning, for me is just a phenomenal album. Just everything, 1 foot out the door, you name it. It's just an incredible. What is it? Dirty Movies, right? Is it Dirty Movies? That whole album is just, it goes under the radar. I think it's just
check out that live version of Unchained. I keep playing the first 45 seconds of it over and over again because Eddie just comes in like a friggin' avalanche. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, towards the end of their run, I would go knowing that David can't sing, but I just wanted to get my ticket on the right side of the stage, just so I can see Eddie jam the entire night, because that's what it became the last couple of tours. Hell, I went to Jersey to go see them for that last album that they came out with. And I drove, and we flew up there, and I knew that David couldn't sing, but it didn't matter to me. I was there to see Eddie and the rest of the band. Because, by the way, Alex Van Halen doesn't get enough credit also as a drummer.
Unbelievable.
Just like the bassist, Anthony doesn't get enough credit as a bassist for exceptional talents in their own right. And Roth for me was the best frontman I've ever seen. Okay,
cool enough to be in The Sopranos, right? I mean, he's in The Sopranos poker game.
Yeah. He could move a crowd like I've never seen before, and the athleticism that he had on stage with the swords and the staff or whatever he had as a prop, when he arrived to your town, because the dude was like a badass, bro. I mean,
I can only imagine what his knees and back are like today. We think about like the prices football players pay. What was the price of David Lee Roth doing all those calisthenics on stage every night? He'll tell you
his body is all messed up now.
Yeah, it has to be.
This point. Yeah, definitely. He'll definitely tell you that. That's for sure. Let's see what. Okay. Anyway. So we got a bunch of things going on. By the way, you're looking forward to Travis Kelce on Saturday Night Live?
I guess so. I wish he'd lose this idea that the Chiefs are somehow underrepresented or underrespected or something. Come on, everybody knows Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. Yeah. Nobody who's out there like, I doubt Patrick Mahomes. I doubt Travis Kelce. Stop it. I realize that's what every athlete does. The slights or perceived slights, they use it as fuel, and I get it, but the Chiefs are overdogs. They're not under. Yeah, maybe they were a 1-point underdog in the Super Bowl. Obviously, you and I both picked Kansas City. Game could have gone either way.
Yeah,
didn't like the way the game ended, but well, I guess Bradbury grabbed him, so it is. So it goes. But I just want to see more football.
Dude, by the time we got halfway through the season, most of us were saying Mahomes is the MVP.
For sure.
What the hell are we talking about? I mean, give me a
stop
break.
it. Stop it with this Patrick Mahomes is, 2 MVPs. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's on every other commercial. And he's great. And I have nothing against Patrick Mahomes. Just let's not act like he's some secret. He's not some bar without a sign on front. Everybody knows Patrick Mahomes.
Anybody with a brain will tell you he's the gold standard at quarterback.
He separated himself. Period. You could.
Period.
It's one of those things. You can name a lot of number twos. You could give me Hurts. You could give me Josh Allen. You could give me.
We can argue.
Joe
we
Burrow.
can argue. We can have a discussion on it.
Yep.
Right.
Look at the year Tua just had. He led the NFL in a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of guys who could be that number 2. Mahomes is always going to be the number 1 until somebody knocks him off. And Andy Reid is already in the Hall of Fame. They did it with the most average receiver room. Juju, just a guy right now. MVS was even in the Super Bowl. I don't remember doing a thing.
No, I know it's that's the impressive part with them. Obviously, they're elite at tight end, but at wide receiver, they were definitely not special. But when you're special at quarterback, that's what makes the difference. And, the whole team contributed there. Special teams had a monster return to give you pretty much a gift of a touchdown. The defense scored. So that, when you're getting contributions from all phases of the game, this is why, you end up as a Super Bowl winner.
For sure. We said last week, look, they're not going to stop the Eagles. You just have to disrupt them. And what did they do? They got a takeaway and it turned into a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was enough to flip the game. That was the most important play of the game, you could argue.
Let me ask you something. The Sean Payton story now, and now Rex Ryan is the leading candidate for defensive coordinator. Why is it, and I get he's a good coach, don't get me wrong now, why is it I think this is going to be a disaster in Denver?
Just when somebody's been out of coaching as long as Rex Ryan has been, it just makes you a little bit nervous, right? Has anybody come back from a really long coaching? I mean, look, Joe Gibbs was amazing.
Only Vermeil.
Yeah, Vermeil's a good example of somebody it did work out. But I just, when somebody's been out of the game so long, it just makes me a little bit nervous.
No, I'm with you, but also Sean's cockiness, and it's just I don't know. There's something about this that. It just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't, it does, he had a lot of support in the Saints that people don't talk about in his front office, and they made a lot of good decisions that weren't necessarily his decisions. And that's what people don't understand. So he's going to be in charge of personnel also. And I just feel that sometimes a coach bites off a little too much. The arrogance and the cockiness kind of take over. And I don't know. I just kind of feel this is an exploding cigar.
Yeah,
I'm completely wrong.
We all need somebody to talk us out of a bad idea. You could argue that's been the problem with Belichick the last few years. He's wearing too many hats. Bill Belichick needs somebody to tap himself on the shoulder and say, no, don't draft that guy. Don't draft N'Keal Harry. Chip Kelly needs somebody to say, no, don't trade for Sam Bradford. We all need somebody to talk ourselves out of a bad idea. And you talk about the arrogance of some of these guys. That's it's like what your greatest strength is can be your greatest flaw sometimes, right? You think back to that great scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High where Spicoli and the kid, they crash Jefferson's car and the car is totaled. And Spicoli's like, oh, no, my dad's a TV repairman. He's got these ultimate set of tools.
I can fix it.
Right? He's like, and the kid goes, you can't fix this car, Spicoli. And Spicoli looks at it. The car could not be more junked. And he goes, I can fix it. That's Sean Payton. Okay, and Russell Wilson right now is the car. And Sean Payton is saying, I can fix it. And everybody else is like, you can't fix this car, Payton. You can't fix this car. You're going to blame it on the Lincoln Surf Nazis because you can't fix this. No, I can fix it. Well, I don't know. Maybe the car is unfixable.
Yeah, well, we'll see if the car is fixable or not. Did I get your because it was finally official now on the whole Fangio thing?
Oh, in favor for sure.
Yeah,
definite thumbs up.
Yeah. It's definitely a good move. What'd you think of the Tua judo stuff?
I'm not sure I saw that. What's he's doing something different for workouts?
Yeah, he's taken judo. I took judo for 3 years, I think it was, and one of the things you do learn in judo is how to fall, and it's helped me throughout my life actually when I've fallen, learning how to break a fall,
balance and stuff. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so he's taking judo on Fridays now for trying to learn how to fall and break falls.
Oh, I like it. Was judo something you had to pay for, or did your dad cover that?
It was part of private school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was it was our PE class, basically. You either chose PE or if you wanted to take judo, and I took judo for 3 years
I
there.
get it. One underrated part of athletics is balance. And it doesn't even matter what your body type is. You think of somebody like David Wells, right? Who looked like he wasn't an athlete, but he had unbelievable CC Sabathia, unbelievable balance, right? It's a huge part. It's a huge part of the quarterback position. So many, and we always talk about the tight ends. They're all former basketball players. They're all former power forwards and everything. A lot of these skills that you acquire. This is why when kids grow up today, this is one thing that I'll be the old man complaining now. Yelling at the clouds. I get so frustrated when a kid shows athletic ability and like, okay, you got to pick a sport. What are you going to be? You're going to be a football player, basketball player, hockey player. You should play everything. You should play soccer. You should play frisbee. You should play games in your backyard that don't even have a name, right? Randy Moss said when he grew up, they played Razzle Dazzle, which the whole goal was to score a touchdown on every play. You just have fun. Go screw around.
Let me ask you, to build off of your point. Mm-hmm. This is why I don't know how much you follow soccer.
Love soccer.
But okay, well, have you noticed that we only develop one player at a world-class level?
Goalies.
You know what player that is?
The goalies.
Why? Every American sport is hand-eye coordination. Mm-hmm. So you're either playing baseball or basketball or volleyball or hockey or whatever the hell it is. And so soccer, well, okay, you got to work with your feet. That's the only time you do it. But in as a goalie, everything's hand-eye coordination. And so if you're playing catcher, you're kind of playing goalie. If you're, whatever, if you're playing anything, it kind of gets to hand-eye coordination. I don't care if you're hitting a baseball. I don't care if you're catching a football, throwing it, whatever it is. I don't care if you're hitting a golf ball. I don't care what it is. There's a hand-eye coordination thing to everything we do in American sports. And to me, that's the only reason why we can come up with goalies that can play at the international level. Now we're starting to come up with some of the players, in other positions, but goalie has been something for now decades now, from Friedel and all those other guys from the past, that we've been able to send internationally because all our sports are hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, people talk about what if Allen Iverson was a soccer player? What if LeBron James was a soccer player? What if Kobe Bryant was a soccer player? And I grew up when soccer took over. Has there been a soccer boom in America? Well, it's happened at the youth level. It's a huge youth sport. It's a huge high school sport. We still haven't. The women, of course, are world class. The men are still lagging behind. We did have a nice World Cup. We advanced to the second stage, played some exciting games. We had trouble finishing, and of course, there was some controversy of why our best players maybe weren't on the field, which is just a really bizarre story in today's current climate. But I don't know. Maybe this World Cup's coming to America soon. I would like to see us. We haven't developed. Landon Dunham is a really good player, but we really haven't had that world class. Clint Dempsey was a good player. We're hoping Pulisic will maybe become that guy. But when are we going to have a world class striker that scares the pants off everybody? We don't have it right now.
No, not yet. It's we're not close to that yet. But eventually, I think we're getting closer to that. But it's kind of weird. So for me, I think Tua is doing a good thing. And listen,
sure.
Anything you can do to try to better yourself and protect yourself, especially as a quarterback, to me, ultimately, like I've said, and I've done it over and over again, all of his big injuries and concussions have come from 3.81 seconds to 5.1 seconds. Right. So to me, ultimately, you better learn how to get rid of the ball under the 3-second mark and do all these other things. Ultimately, that's what's going to keep you upright and keep you having a long career. What he has to stop thinking is that he can be Mahomes or Russell Wilson or any of these kind of scramblers that can go out there and buy themselves time. That's not who he is. He doesn't possess that kind of athleticism. Neither did Drew Brees, neither did Dan Marino, neither did Phil Simms, neither did plenty of quarterbacks in the past. They only were able to move a step or two to buy themselves a millisecond to get rid of the ball. That's what he needs to learn how to do and keep it that way.
For sure, that pocket awareness, right? Troy Aikman, Tom Brady. Marino was so good at it. Just find that quiet area in the pocket, shift a little bit. And, of course, Marino had the fastest release of anybody. Joe Namath's release was right up there. People forget because Brady didn't want to get hit at the end of his career. You watch the first part of his career, the first like 2/3 of his career, his pocket awareness was unbelievable, where he had a sixth sense of where the chaos was coming from. It's like, okay, if I just step over here, I have functional space. I can release. I can make the throw that I want to throw. And you talk about Tua holding the ball. It's like, they say nothing good happens after 1 a.m. Just cash in your chips and go home. If the play as designed, if you're not on schedule with the play, it's just like, get rid of it. It's, again, you're not Michael Vick, you're not Steve Young, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's where the bad stuff is happening. You said after that 5-second interval or whatever it is. So,
Yes.
I can't wait though, man. The Dolphins can still look around the league and be like, hey, we got Tyreek Hill, we got Jalen Waddle. That's the best 1-2 in the NFL. We saw how badly Buffalo struggled because they never found a second pitch, right? We saw how good the Eagles were because they had 3 guys who could threaten every inch of the field in Brown, in Smith, in Dallas Goedert. You can't just have one guy. And Buffalo, that really was the fatal flaw of Buffalo. We saw how much Cincinnati struggled in the games that Chase didn't play. You need more than one guy, and Miami's got that, and most teams, they're lucky if they have one person.
No, I'm with you there. By the way, going back to Kansas City, one of the things that I think is also amazing about them, and it's going to lead to the next question I'm about to ask you, is that Andy Reid, you just mentioned, lost Tyreek Hill, and yet not a great receiving core, and they're able to play design, and obviously Mahomes and company, and they go on to win the title. And then the other thing that they've done over the years under Andy Reid is they've lost all kinds of coaches, and yet they overcome that too. And now here's the latest, and Eric Bieniemy now, apparently it's working its way towards Washington. And I know Andy Reid's going to be fine because he always is fine. He always develops the next coaches and the next players and everything else, and the offense will evolve like it always does, no matter what quarterback it is. Even if you're Smith coming over from San Francisco, you're going to play the best year you've ever had of your career because you're playing under this guy. So here's the part B to all of this. Eric Bieniemy needs to leave. The worst thing that's happened to him is that he is stuck there, and that Andy Reid is getting still all the credit. Yet he's still getting a lot of the praise from Andy and others, but nobody's given him that chance. And it's almost like he's got to get away from Pa and go, grow on his own almost. And I feel like this is a really important time for Eric Bieniemy. If he's ever going to be a head coach, if he's ever going to get that respect he needs, he has to get away from the umbrella of Andy Reid so he can finally get the praise that some of the other coaches have gotten since they left Andy Reid.
No, it totally makes sense. You just get overwhelmed by the shadow of Reid. At some point, you've learned all you can from the mentor, and you have to go do your own thing. And be really curious to see how they adjust without him next year. And look at Philadelphia, right? They just lost both their coordinators. They're both head coaches, Indianapolis and Arizona. So that's the price you pay when you win, right? You can't keep all your guys, and you can't keep your best coaches because you can't promote them to head coaches. You already have a head coach,
right?
So you're going to get your coaching staff is going to get rated. Whether or not that is successful, we'll see. I mean, some of the best coaches of all time, the Bill Belichick coaching tree is famously very mediocre. Joe Judge didn't work out with the Giants. Obviously, Matt Patricia was a disaster. Matt Patricia got absolutely dunked on by Nick Foles and the Eagles, and then he went to Detroit and got dunked on for another 3 years because I think he learned every bad thing about Belichick and didn't learn all the good things. He learned how to be antagonistic with the media, but didn't learn all the stuff that Belichick did that was good. Of course, Belichick welcomes all those guys back, right? I mean, Judge and Patricia were part of the offense this year. Horrible job they did with Mac Jones. They took all the stuff that Mac Jones likes to do, and they basically threw it in the trash can. I'm not sure that Mac Jones is ever going to be a great player anyway, but I feel like they set him up to fail. So I'm very curious to see what Bieniemy does. Very well respected. It's hard for us to know. We're not in the room.
Right.
We don't. Some of these position coaches, it's hard to know. If anybody says to me, when Brian Daboll went to the Giants, we all had opinions of what he would be, but nobody knew for sure. You don't know how much of Josh Allen's success was Daboll. It could be a different position coach. How much of it was Stephon Diggs. Success and failure both have so many parents, and it's really difficult to figure out where the credit belongs. And this is the greatest and the worst thing about NFL debates and arguments. It's like, okay, Montana was the greatest quarterback ever. No. He played with Bill Walsh. He played with Jerry Rice. He played with Roger Craig. Steve Young was just as good as he was. You can give credit any way you want. Nobody can tell you you're wrong. I think Jerry Rice is the best football player I've ever seen, but he played with Montana and Young. He played with Walsh. That's a huge advantage. You can never separate that stuff. Randy Moss on the Raiders was just a guy. Randy Moss on the Patriots scored 23 touchdowns.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there too. And we'll see how this whole thing develops. But for him, I think it'll be the best move if he's able to do it, because it will at least be able to give him that opportunity to finally grow and separate himself. And by the way, I think the Dable, what's it called, Dorsey thing,
Ken Dorsey,
kind of separated itself because Allen and company kind of took a step back under Dorsey's. Meanwhile, Dable left. They took a step back, and the Giants and Jones, he got the most out of Jones that you can possibly get, and the most out of that team.
That might have been more impressive. It might have been more impressive making Daniel Jones a good quarterback than it was making Josh Allen a great quarterback.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. I'm with you there. All right, what do you got going on at Yahoo so folks can check you out?
Yeah, a lot of fantasy baseball coverage. The game is open. I did my catcher preview. Fred Zinke is his first base preview today, and we did a mock first round. So get ready for that. And don't worry, football's going to open not too far down the road. We'll be doing a lot of draft coverage. We'll be doing mock drafts. We'll be covering free agency. The NFL is a 12-month calendar, as you know. So whether you're into baseball, football, we'll be doing a lot of March Madness coverage. Tournament's just a couple weeks away. Come get some. Yahoo Sports.
Hey, by the way, where's Jazz Chisholm going in drafts?
Love him. The only thing that makes me a little bit concerned, two things. One, if he bats third, how much does he run? And two, does the position change? Hopefully it doesn't mess with his head. But he is one of my favorite players. Power, speed, category juice. There aren't that many guys who can hit home runs and steal bases. And he's also in his 20s. He's a guy who hasn't had his best season yet. And second base is a very weak fantasy position. He'll qualify at second even if he doesn't play there. So he to me, he's like a 4th or 5th round pick. I'm going to proactively go after Jazz.
And swag to
for sure.
Swag,
a fun guy. He's a really fun player for sure.
Yeah.
He's the reason you buy a ticket to go see him do his thing.
Yeah. Sandy and Jazz are worth the price of winner. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, follow him on Twitter at Scott_Pianowski and catch his exceptional work there at Yahoo Fantasy. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, hang him high, my friend.
You got it. As always, there you go. Hang him high. I love it. Little diver down. Don't forget Mondays at Sports Grill, $7 single smash burger. Tuesdays, the $2 tacos, chicken, beef, or fish. Wednesdays, the kids eat for free with the purchase of an adult entree. Take advantage. And you know they're known for their sauces. And now you can actually take them home with you. The buffalo sauce, the Miami Heat, the blackberry, the barbecue, the Dale. And you got the Doral location now open. So you got 8 great locations. And milkshakes every Monday with rock and roll music playing at the Kendall location. Sportsgrill.com. Check out the nearest location to you. Take a quick
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.